of you have been listening to me talk about Bitcoin, do you think that I'm going to tell you to keep that I think that I plan to keep buying, or do you think that I'm going to say, oh no, it's too high now, it's gonna start going down? What do y'all think? There we go. Okay, so y'all been paying attention. All right, so I don't even have to say anything. I think Bitcoin is going to. Most experts predict that Bitcoin is going to go up as high as 150,000 this year, which is insane. Which would be more than triple, or sorry, not triple, not triple. You got to do the math right. More than double where it is right now. So again, no guarantees, but Bitcoin is looking like a really nice, tasty little investment that could end up really, really yielding some dividends and in a pretty fairly easy trade, largely because there are lots of predictable structural factors around the increase in the price of Bitcoin. Most assets can't be predicted that easily, but Bitcoin can be predicted partly because Bitcoin's growth was stunted. The regulators really stunted the growth of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was supposed to cross 100,000 3 years ago, but when the market crashed and then the regulators came in and started doing weird stuff and creating fear, uncertainty, and doubt, it kind of delayed what was the inevitable. So it's an opportunity though, because it means that you can pretty much look at it and watch it just sort of walk up the steps. There was not a single person anywhere that I know who didn't expect Bitcoin to go ballistic and eventually hit the record high that it's at right now. So congratulations if you are a Bitcoin owner. How many of y'all own Bitcoin, by the way? How many of you actually have shares of Bitcoin right now? If you're in that category, I'm happy for you. If you're not in that category, it's not too late. I think that you could still buy in and still do well. And again, if you want to know what I'm doing, this is not investing advice, but if you want to know what I'm doing with my money, I'm buying as much as I can. I'm just parking it there. And the funny thing about Bitcoin, though, that's really important to understand too, Warren Buffett made a good point about this, and I agree with him, that Bitcoin is not really a typical sort of financial asset. This is one of the reasons why I don't think it's that smart to put, 20, 30, 40% of your money into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still sort of gaining its identity. It doesn't have a lot of use cases in the United States. Now, in third world countries and in the unbanked population, they're finding that Bitcoin is now gaining some traction in a use case scenario, which is actually quite good. But generally, most people see Bitcoin as a speculative asset, which means that when you buy Bitcoin, what you're hoping for is that someone will buy it from you for more than what you paid for it, right? And eventually, though, you can't keep finding a bigger sucker, if you will. Not that you're a sucker, but you can't find a person that's willing to pay more, and that's when the price collapses. So if you want to know my predictions of Bitcoin over the next, say, 3 to 4 years, 5 years, I think it's going to collapse again. It's going to keep collapsing because markets crash, and that's what they do. That's what happens. We have these corrections all the time. But I think that there's a lot of money that's going to be made in the meantime. Woo, buddy, a lot of money to be made. All right, so could Bitcoin replace the dollar? No, I don't think it will. They because remember, when people, does anybody know what backs, just a little riddle me this. What is the backing of the U.S. dollar? Answer in the chat. What backs the U.S. dollar? Can anybody tell me? Okay, I see zero. Errol Kendall says zero. AC Salam says labor. Justin says gold. Errol just Errol knows. Yeah, not that all of you were wrong. You're right. If you said that the dollar's not backed by anything, you're right. But if you think it's backed by gold, well, not anymore, right? It used to be. Errol had the right answer. He said it's the military. It's the fact that they have all these guns and tanks and ships and nuclear missiles that they can launch at people that decide to defy their authority, and that's what backs the U.S. dollar, right? So you don't mess with the people that have all the guns. Eventually, the rubber meets the road on that. So I don't think it'll replace the dollar, but I think it'll be a great use of it'll gain some use cases, and also I like the fact that crypto's being allowed to grow, and also the institutional infrastructure to support the growth in the price of Bitcoin is there. And so, yeah, if you got some extra money, I wouldn't be mad at you if you bought some more Bitcoin like immediately, because all the people are coming in now because everybody's reading the headline about Bitcoin hitting a record high. All that does is push up demand, which pushes up the price. So, all right, Natasha says, Dr. Boyce, what happened to with POTX? I went to purchase and couldn't find it. I called Schwab and they said the company's been liquidated. Yeah, that sounds like what happened. If a company goes bankrupt or they get liquidated, that company will disappear. Let me see, POTX. Yeah, I can't find it in Robinhood. So what most likely happened is that this company had some sort of bankruptcy proceeding and they no longer exist. Sometimes that happens. Just like humans die, sometimes companies die. Doc, I work in the veterinarian field, says Jacinta, and I can tell you Zoetis is a really great company. They are the animal branch of Pfizer. Please check it out and give me your opinion. Okay, Zoetis, Zoetis. Zoetis. Here we go. Ticker symbol ZTS. ZTS. Everybody type that in the chat. ZTS. And woof, the analysts like it. Okay, okay. So everybody thank Jacinta. Jacinta might have just made us some money. I'm buying this. I'm buying this. ZTS. Let me write down that ticker. This is how I invest. I try to buy stuff every day. Anytime I get extra money, some people spend their money on strippers and popcorn. I spend my money on stock. So I don't hang out. I never hung out with strippers and popcorn has too much salt in it. So instead I'll just buy some stock instead. All right. So Shaquana, do I need to own 100 shares of stock to purchase the option of the stock? No, you have to purchase options in groups of 100 if you're purchasing. If you're selling options, you can only sell options if it's what's called a covered call, where you have to own 100 shares of the stock in order to sell those options on that stock. So in that case, you have to own 100 shares. But because they don't let you do what they call naked options. Naked options are when you sell the options and you don't own the shares. Most of these investments that involve the selling of options or the selling of credit spreads or whatever involves some type of collateral that has to be put up. And if you want to know more about that type of stuff, you guys know we do stuff in Prime. This week we're actually going to have a meeting for Prime on Thursday. So those of you that are in the program, you'll get a link from me soon. Those of you that are not, if you text the word money to 87948, I'll send you the training how to make money without working. It's also at my website, boycewatkins.com, and you can take a look at what we do in Prime and decide if it's for you. This isn't just something I teach; it's something that I do. It's how I make my money. Shaquana, do I need to? Oh, you already asked. Oh, you already answered your question, didn't I? Let's see here. Put your question in the Q&A section if you have a question. If you put it in the chat, I may or may not see it. Kim, how can we buy shares even though it's expensive? How can you buy shares when it's expensive? Well, if it costs too much, if it's more than what you can afford, then you can find cheaper companies. And remember this too, that when you buy shares of stock, you don't have to buy a whole share. You can buy fractional shares. Okay, fractional shares. And by the way, I saw someone just said they're in Prime and they're still learning. Yeah, a great place to start in Prime is you have free access to something we did called Prime 101. And that's where we just introduced everybody in the class to selling stock options and just what that looks like. So feel free to go log in and look for Prime 101 and go through that material. That'll get you up to speed. And also, we're having a stock options summit in Los Angeles. If you want to learn live and in person, and that's better for you, and you want to connect with others that are in the community, then LA is the place to be. April 19th. That's when we're going to do this. And I think the URL is stockoptionssummit.com. I believe that's the URL that they pick for the team. So you can go to stockoptionssummit.com if you'd like to join us. We're almost out of tickets because we didn't design it to hold a lot of people. So you may want to get your passes early. Yeah, go to stockoptionssummit.com. We're going to be in the Westin. I think the Westin, or maybe it's the Sheraton. I can't remember. It's a nice hotel. We're going to be there for a couple of days and we're just going to do stock options for the entire time. All right, so let's see here. Are you using bar chart to research stocks? If so, are you using a paid subscription for the site? Yes, Shaquan, I do use bar chart and I do use the paid version and I use it mostly for my options work. I don't use it to research the stocks because bar chart does what a type of analysis that we were told is literally blasphemous in grad school, and that's basically technical analysis, where they kind of look at these little charts and tell you where what do they call those support levels and all that. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that there's nothing there. Maybe there is, but the way it was trained to me was that this is almost like financial voodoo. It's like superstition. And it's not just their opinion though. This is the thing. There've been thousands and thousands and thousands of research papers written on this. And when I tell you that financial scientists have a level of precision that you would not believe. These are some of the most anal retentive people you'll ever meet. They dot every I, cross every T, look at every variable in deep detail. Um there's something to that, right? Now, it does not mean that there aren't some forms of technical analysis that can actually apply. For example, things like I wrote my dissertation on something called momentum trading and short-term reversals in the stock market. And basically, it speaks to common sense. It kind of says sometimes you get a momentum stage where because everything's going up, it's going to keep going up because people get excited and people are pouring money into it. And then reversal, meaning like when the price goes way up, it tends to kind of cool off because people that are at the top start selling off or closing their short positions to cover. Or when it goes way down, there's usually like a what they call a dead cat bounce, where the market goes way down, and then the overreaction of investors, where they're like, oh, well, you know what, we pushed the price down too far. It's almost like a fight. You get in a big fight with somebody you love, and you say terrible things, and then you come back and say, I'm sorry, I my temper got away from me, and like one time I got real mad at my wife about something. She got mad at me and we were just barking at each other. And then after like a couple hours of cooling off, I didn't like really come out and do like say I'm sorry because I didn't feel like saying that, but I was like, I decided to make you some French toast today. So let's go to the grocery store and I'm gonna buy the ingredients and make you breakfast. So that was my way of apologizing to my wife. So that was like a cooling off period. The stock market does the same thing. Sometimes it overreacts. That's the point. Sometimes it overreacts to the upside or the downside. And a lot of my dissertation was written about these weekly reversals, where if it does really well one week, I kind of expect that there's going to be some cooling off the next week, but that's not always the case though. So don't there's no hard and fast rules on this. So you always have to be mindful and you always have to protect. Like right now, if you look at some of the stocks that we've talked about, say in prime class, you'll see that today they're cooling off. They're really getting their butts kicked pretty bad. And if you know that for the last couple of weeks, I've been saying like, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Winter's coming. Winter's always coming. And now that winter is here, for some of these stocks, now you get ready for summer. Now you go in and you take that extra cash you had to the side and maybe go pick up some low cost assets and kind of get ready for the upside. You sell a couple put options if you have to in order to cover whatever cash might be required for your margin requirement, but you just sort of reposition, right? You're always repositioned for the next stage. Okay, let's see here. How you doing? Peace and B1. Peace to you too. CBS and Yahoo states that helium discovery in northern Minnesota may be the biggest ever in North America. What do you think about Pulsar Helium Incorporated? Is this a long-term stock or a stock for options? Also, what is the over-the-counter risk? Okay, so what is the ticker symbol? PSRHF. PSRHF. Okay, PSRHF. All right, so let's see here. I see PSR. I don't see a PSRHF. It's not listed on Robinhood, which probably says that it is an over-the-counter, maybe even a pink sheet sort of stock. Stocks like that, you're right. There is a lot of over-the-counter risk. You had it exactly right. And also remember this: the discovery of helium is a big deal for sure. It probably has some impact on the stock price, but there's something in the stock markets called the efficient markets hypothesis. The efficient markets hypothesis says that whenever there's publicly released information about a company, the market immediately responds. The market immediately reacts. So what does that mean? That means that, well, let's say that you hear again, this company discovered all this helium, and you're like, oh, they're going to make so much money from the helium. They're going to make an extra $1 billion. I'm going to go buy this stock because I believe they're gonna make all this money. Well, that's already been factored in. There are algorithms and people that will incorporate the information in half a second, right? And do all the calculations and everything. But if you buy the stock, what you're really kind of invested in is this idea that there are going to be some positive surprises along the way, or that the company is going to, at the very least, continue to fulfill the expectations that are placed on that stock. Do you understand? So that's what you're kind of betting on. You're not really betting on the information that you know. You're betting that the what you don't know is going to be beneficial to you long term, right? So if I buy shares of stock in let's use a real example. I stopped selling Google, or sorry, I stopped buying Google. In fact, I sold all my Google because I fundamentally believe Google has a problem. I fundamentally believe that Google's going to continuously not meet expectations. They're going to continue to screw up. They've totally screwed up these AI launches, and it tells me that there's a dysfunctional issue. There's an organizational problem, a cancer maybe that can only be fixed maybe by removing the CEO or changing something significant about the company. Whereas, let's see, what's a company that I really believe in? Uh, Microsoft, right? Microsoft just seems to have it right. It seems like it, so I don't know what's coming down the pike from Microsoft, but they seem to just really understand the market and kind of know how to respond properly. And I believe they're going to keep finding ways to make money. Same thing about Amazon. So companies like that are the ones I have faith in. So ultimately, When you buy a stock, you're not so much reacting to information that you know. What you're doing is you're reacting to the unknowns. It's almost like really a little bit like marriage in the sense that when I marry a person, my wife, that's the only person I married, I know what I know about her, but there's a lot that I don't know about her, and there's also a lot that I don't know about the future. So by me marrying her, I'm not just placing a bet on what I see, I'm placing a bet on what I don't see. I'm placing a bet that as the world changes and things happen that we don't expect, she's going to respond in an appropriate way, right? Which means that I'm really looking at her more so as an ongoing entity of a human being, more so than just what she is right now in the moment. Do you understand? Right? Like it's like if you're dealing with a really intelligent person, you'll say, "Yeah, I know that he's going to go through XYZ probably, but I'm sure he'll find some way to figure it out because he's a generally smart guy." So companies are like that. Some companies are smart, some companies are not as smart, and that's what you're kind of invested in. That as the world sort of changes and things happen that we could not anticipate, these companies are going to evolve in the best way. Think about this, process this. This is 2024. Think about how many things have happened in the last 5 years that you never would have predicted in a million years. Like seriously, think about this. This is a consciousness exercise. I want you to think about what if you went back in time to 2019? Like what conversation would you have with yourself? We don't been through the pandemic and all the chaos around that. We have seen AI pop up, and AI is doing things that would have been seen as witchcraft practically 5, 6 years ago, right? We didn't expect. I mean, there's so many things that have happened that we didn't expect. The economy's changed. The Fed started increasing interest rates. That threw everything off balance. So the same way, there are many, many, many things that happened in the last 5 years that you never could have anticipated. Well, guess what? The next 5 years are probably going to be just as interesting. The next 5 years, stuff's going to happen where if you could talk to yourself in the year 2029, you would be on the floor right now. You would be in shock if your future self was able to come to the past and say, "Oh, let me tell you what's going to happen in 2027. And let me tell you about President Kardashian and how and the fact that she declares nuclear war on France, right? Whatever, right? Like it'll be some stuff that you won't expect. So so generally speaking, investing is where you're kind of positioning yourself to sort of prepare for that unknown future. It's not the knowns that you have to worry about. It's the unknowns and the unknown unknowns. That the unknown unknowns are what they call black swan events. That's where something broadsides you and you don't even know it's there. You didn't even know that that was a risk factor. You didn't even know enough about it to even plan for it. And it just comes up and suddenly it becomes a big variable. So that adaptive ability is really important. It's also important for education. When you teach your kids, it's not about what you know, it's about your ability to adapt to new things that you're going to have to know to adapt to new situations. That's education, in my opinion. It has to be on a dynamic. Let's see. Chirin says, "Hey Doc, what do you do when the company you bought stock goes out of business? Can you use that as a tax write-off? You probably, yeah, most likely in most cases you can. Just talk to your tax professional about that. But yeah, because unfortunately that means you might have taken a loss, and it's okay. A lot of us as investors take losses. Jan says, don't play with me with President Kardashian. Yeah, you just don't know. You don't know what the future. Like I really think I'm really trying to figure out who the presidential candidates are going to be. I don't think it's going to be Trump and Biden. I think it's going to be somebody different. I don't know, and I bet you they got stuff in the wings. Maybe Michelle Obama is getting locked and loaded. I'm curious to see what shenanigans are going to pop up. All right, so let's see. Shaquana says, "Should I purchase 100 shares of a stock first of a particular stock, purchase a call option, and then sell the option?" Well, Shaquana, if you want to know that, log into the Prime program and take a look at the process, and then we lay the whole process out. And if you go to Prime 101, it'll explain like you don't have to buy the option to sell it. You can sell it without actually buying the option because when you own a stock, you automatically own options on the stock, and you can decide if you want to sell options, right? So it's like I don't know. It's like if I have a cow and the cow produces milk and I want to sell milk, I don't have to buy milk to sell milk because I have a cow and the cow makes milk. Do you follow me? So your options, your stocks are your cows. They make milk and they make milk every week. So you can sell that milk, take it to the market just like you would with a cow. Right. So you're selling options every Monday. I sell my milk to the market and I get thousands of dollars every week for selling my milk. And it comes from the capital base, which means I just own a bunch of cows. So that's to me, that's the plan, right? That's one wealth hack. Help your kids have a bunch of cows and then they can sell lots of milk. My friend is in Africa and she lives in Botswana. And I went to visit her in 2015, and they were really rich. They had maid servants, a gardener, housekeeper, all that stuff. And they had these really nice cars, a Range Rover, Mercedes Benz, and drivers for all these cars. And the drivers would just sit around all day waiting for somebody to have to need a ride. And I said, "How did you get all this money?" And she said, "Well, my grandfather had cows, and then he passed the cows down to my father, and my father had more cows than my grandfather, and now I have more cows than my father because my father passed the cows to me." So it was all about cows, and every generation had more cows. And when I talked to her about African Americans, because she married an African American man, she said, "I do not understand how African Americans think they can have any wealth if they start every generation all over again." She said, "I don't know how you think you can start from scratch every generation and build wealth." She said, "We built our wealth across four generations. It didn't even start with her grandfather. It was actually her great grandfather 100 years ago that started the cow business." So yeah, so now they got the cows, they sell the beef, they sell the milk, they have now they got drivers and limos and everything else. So instead of having cows, you can have shares of stock. The shares of stock can sell options. That's the milk. So that's a good wealth model. That's better than college. All right. So and that'll be $2.50, please. All right. So Natasha says, what other cannabis ETFs do you like? You know what? I don't have any in mind right now. I don't have any that sort of come to mind. If you log in at the blackstockmarketprogram.com and leave that as a question, I can look some up for you. But if I was to look for a cannabis ETF, you spell cannabis with two N's or one? Why can I not spell the word cannabis? Let me see. All right, here we go. It's two N's. Okay. One that pops up immediately is Advisor Shares Pure US Cannabis ETF. Now, in terms of performance, it's done really bad over the last 5 years. It's gone up 20% in the last year. Let's see. It looks like it's positioned to do well if they change the cannabis laws in the United States. And the holdings of this fund are the Green Thumb Industry Swap. Okay, they have a lot of swaps. That's interesting. I'd have to look into those swaps. It is an actively managed narrow portfolio of U.S. stocks or swap contracts related to the domestic cannabis and hemp industry. Yeah, this is not the one I'd buy. I'd probably buy another one or maybe get a collection of strong cannabis stocks. So yeah, so we can today we don't have the time to really dig into that, but if you leave that as a question, log in and leave it as a question. I'll get you a list. So Christian says, Dr. Boyce, any thoughts or guidance on leveraging AI to augment investing strategies? Um, well, I mean, AI is good in terms of something that you'd want to know to be able to get access to lots of information. You can ask AI questions about stocks and portfolios and stuff, and AI is pretty good at answering that, like ChatGPT. Also, there are AI stocks you can buy. I have a list of AI stocks. I think if you text the word stock to 87948, there's a list of AI stocks that I send out to you guys. And if you can't find the list, and it's also inside your curriculum, and if you can't find it, just email support at theblackbusinessschool.com. And there are some stocks that some of them have already started running up, like Nvidia. But believe it or not, there are people that still think Nvidia has a ways to go, which is crazy, because Nvidia has gone up several 100% in the last few years. I'm not going to buy any more Nvidia, to be honest with you, but there are people that believe it's going to keep going up. Let's see. Do you use E-Trade or Robinhood to buy stocks? I use both. I buy all my stocks, my long-term investments on E-Trade, and my short-term options trading investments I do on Robinhood. Now I got time for two more questions, then I actually have to head to a meeting. I'm so sorry that I gotta cut out quick today, guys. I have no choice. But it's always great to see you, of course. Let's see, IOVA. Okay, so let me look up IOVA. Let's see, IOVA. IOVA. IOVA is okay. Iovance Biotherapeutics. Okay, so companies like that have a lot of what they call jump risk. They can jump really, really quickly if they end up getting through a clinical trial or the trial fails. But it looks like a stock that a lot of analysts like. So I'm not mad at you for buying it. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I will say that if you bought it, I would be mad at you. Okay, last question. And I see another question, but I apologize. I can't get that because I have to head out. Do you still have live sessions from Prime 101? I've received any emails for the live sessions lately. We don't do live sessions for Prime 101 regularly. We do Prime 101 about once every 6 weeks as an intro for those who are Prime members that want to kind of get a reboot, and also for those who are interested in possibly stepping into Prime. And so, but we do record everything. So if you email support at theblackbusinessschool.com, Chanel and Amani and the team will make sure that you can find everything that you're looking for. So feel free to email support at theblackbusinessschool.com. They'll take good care of you. Okay, guys. So I gotta go. I see a question, Kanisha. I'm so sorry I can't answer it, but I will be back. And you'll hear from me very, very soon. And also, every morning we do our consciousness training. And if you aren't on the list, text the word morning to 87948, and you'll get it. You'll get an invitation. All right. So love you too, Tonia Patillo. I see you in there. Give my best to your husband as well. God bless you. Thank you, Christina, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care now. Bye.